everybody, Clutch here from Sodak Motorcycle Blog. Thanks for stopping by. Today you're tuned into a Mick-O-Pegs install video. Right now I'm there with the pegs. I'm holding up the bottom of the peg, showing you that there is a lettering system on the bottom. It'd be K for my model and then L or R depending on what side of the pegs they go on. And then as far as the peg goes, that little part I'm pointing at, you have to take that piece off to get your back piece to get it around the bar. So it's kind of a I'd say an involved install, that's for sure. Basically this that front piece, actually every single Allen bolt on there, it's a 3/16 Allen bolt, so that kind of sucks for when you have a gold wing and everything's metric on it, and now you got something that's standard, but that's the way it is sometimes. So I'm just tearing it apart now, and so to get that plate off, you kind of gotta pry it off just a little bit, because there's actually a spring underneath that holds that whole thing together and makes the peg work. Also, there's a lot of grease. There's grease inside there, so make sure when you're pulling it apart, you don't do it in a dusty environment. Don't just throw it around wherever, otherwise you'll get dust in that grease. That grease is pretty important to make sure the peg works. Also, there's a little spring on the inside there, which when I held it up, it's kind of hard to tell from here, but there's a spring in there that makes this all work. So now here I am, I'm pulling the bolts off so I can get to the little clamp part. Same deal, it's the same 3/32 Allen head bolt. Like I said before, with the grease, it'd definitely be a good idea to keep a couple rags handy and nearby, just so you don't get that grease all over everything. So what I'm showing right there is where the cutout is, and where the lever action for the actual peg works, or the peg lever. Now here am I putting it on. It goes around your crash bar. And also with this style of Mick-O-Peg, your best bet is to mount it at like around a 45-degree angle. Other kinds are different, but with any of the K series models, you want to mount them at a 45-degree angle. So here I'm just putting the bolts in. Gonna get things started, get snugged up a little bit, so that way I can kind of do just a test fitting on it. As you can see there, it's definitely kind of about that 45-degree angle. And then there's that lever there. It'll go right into that little cutout part of the actual block itself. Here, a little bit closer look at what it does. You see where it sits there blocked out. When you're riding, it sits up like that. And when you put the pressure on it, it'll hold down like that. A little spring in the block is what keeps that all from going up and down, or keeps that up when you're not putting pressure on it. So I'm just snugging everything up just a little bit. I'm not going to put a final tightness on this, just because of the simple fact that, well, I want to make sure everything fits kind of where I want it before I get too crazy with it. So what I did is got the block installed, and then I just took and put that Allen bolt just right inside in the middle of it with the actual lever for the peg sitting on it, and just kind of just didn't really snug it up or anything, just kind of loosely tightened it in there just so I could get an idea and a feel for where the pegs were going to sit. Now one thing to do to kind of, because your crash bars are a little bit different, is you'll want to measure between the actual peg lengths. So I'm measuring center of the Mick-O-Peg to center of my riding peg. Just going to get that measurement, and I'm trying to do the same thing on the other side. Also, I step to the front here and I'm basically just kind of eyeing it up to make sure it's kind of looks somewhat even. I mean, you can only do so much here. You just want to just do your best and kind of get as close as you can. And now I'm going to actually mount on the bike and kind of just see where they're sitting compared to my legs after I got my measurements pretty close. I think I was at a 1/4 inch on the one side, over on the left side compared to the right, which, you know, at 1/4 inch I'm not going to lose sleep over. Had it been an inch or two, then it would have been a different story. So yeah, I'm just kind of just getting the feel of it, how it's going to feel on my feet, make sure that it actually is going to fit me pretty good. Obviously, you're not going to get your full effect of knowing exactly what's going to happen until you're actually out on the road riding with it, but at least it's a start. So now there's that spring I was talking about in the middle there. And I'm going to pull that lever off, and now we're going to put the top part of the block in. And it is kind of, I could try to explain kind of how the process works, but I think maybe, you know, Mr. Mick, if you're watching, maybe if you want to chime in on this. But essentially what I'm trying to do is there's a little detent coming off that spring, and I'm going to put that spring, I'm going to put that little detent inside the lever for the Mick-O-Peg, and then I'm going to go, essentially you're going to turn it clockwise to get it set. My recommendation is go ahead, kind of like I'm doing there. I'm lining up that little pinhole with the spring. Like I said, this takes a little bit of just kind of guesswork to make it work. There's a video out there trying to explain it, but for whatever reason, I just couldn't explain it. So I just kind of just sat there and just with trial and error kind of tried to get it in there. You kind of put that on like so. Basically put the lever kind of at the bottom. Like I said, it's going to take you maybe a bit just to kind of sit there, visualize in your head and figure it out. That's kind of how I figured it out. So I got it on there now. Nope, never mind. You can go ahead and put the bolt through if you want. So I kind of got started and cranked it in. That's the one way you can do it. That was the way I started doing it. The other way I did it was I actually hooked the lever to the spring in that little part that goes on the outside of the block, and I put the lever at its bottom position, and then I went ahead and just rotated I took and rotated the whole thing so it actually went in and it just kind of slid in. So that's kind of what you gotta do, just kind of trial and error. So here I am again trying to just do another remodel, redo, kind of seeing where they sit. The first time I did this, I realized that my right hand side was not tight enough, so I'd have to go and redo that. This just gives though a good visualization of how they look. Sorry, I'm kind of fixing it again, getting it right. Like I said, it may be some trial and error with this to get it right. I can tell you this, I will get plenty of trial and working and practicing with it, because you gotta figure at least every 2 years I'll be replacing spark plugs in this bike, which means I need to pull that bottom part of the cover off, which is, well, right where the Mick-O-Peg sits. So I'll get plenty of good practice in pulling these off and taking them off, or putting these on, taking them off. Just gonna cinch that down. One thing with these, you know, get everything good and snug. Obviously don't go overboard, but good and snug. Like kind of, if you saw how that my hand was, that's kind of the best way to do it. So now we're sitting on the bike and we're gonna just try them out. And they're pretty close. I think they don't look too bad. They don't stick too awful far out. You can kind of barely tell you're there if you're looking at them from this angle. And they're no wider than like the mirrors are on the bike, so you don't have to worry about clearing anything. Hopping on again, and we're going to do this one more time. Let's make sure everything's right. And honestly, I'm saying some stuff, and well, except you're getting me in voiceover because, well, I made the mistake of trusting a GoPro to record my audio after, I bought all the extra stuff for it. But, that's the fun of having a GoPro. Excellent video, but the audio is still pretty much trash. But that's okay. I'm sure I'm saying really cool and awesome stuff. So, anyways, I just want to thank you for stopping by the Sodak Motorcycle Blog. I'm Clutch. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you later.